You know what's kind of funny to me is the fact that, so many people last generation were talking about like resolution. Everything was like resolution or what they had to cut in order for the Xbox One to match up to a PlayStation 4 version, despite the fact that Sony themselves really kind of lied to get themselves in that position. In the first place, I can remember them kind of getting sued over the situation with Killzone Shadowfall because they claimed 1080p 60, but the actual resolution was like 720p, and they started doing like that that res upscaling and interlacing and all that kind of stuff, which ended up not being such a great thing. But it is something that started and paved the way for what we're doing right now. And it's just one of the things that kind of happens. And you know what, I think that this is one of the things, honestly, for me anyway, when you see Xbox outperforming, it's like, yeah, and water's wet. Like, and people seem to mistake this, right? So it's not bragging so much, or hey, Digital Foundry really did kind of smash Sony with this. But to me, it's more of a situation where that people don't understand why Microsoft was kind of forced to go in a more powerful manner with their Xboxes. It's not so much so that they were going to win every face-off or anything like that. It was more or less because you can't have every single site and YouTuber talking about the difference in resolution. And I can still remember back that old time graphic from IGN where one of them's 900p in his hands and the other one's 1080p, and that was something that happened on the regular, so you can't have that. But I do want to get into this, so let's go ahead and get started. Hey everybody, I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews, back with yet another video. Please check out the like button and give it a little slapperoo if you wouldn't mind. I would definitely appreciate it. It would mean a lot to me if you could help out and do that. Again, just cool to see, and makes me excited to think that we can get that kind of stuff from Microsoft. But yeah, anyway, so I thought this was interesting. So Digital Foundry, Alex Battaglia and John Linneman, they start doing this at the demo, by the way, right? So I'm not going to get all into it. Things can change, they could patch it, whatever. But what was very interesting, is the way that they've kind of managed to kind of handle this, and the way. And I'm gonna link this as well so you guys can check it out. They checked it out. They're gonna start with kind of the basics and things like that. Again, I thought this was really cool. So. Returning to the standard presentation of the game, resolution mode appears to be using a 4K checkerboard that they've seen in prior Resident Evil entries on current-gen machine. There's plenty of post-processing, which makes exact pixel counts challenging, but by eye, we can say that Xbox Series X has a largely 4K-like presentation, with a slightly softer image on PS5, which looks to use a lower internal resolution. So we know that Xbox has the higher resolution. That's not really much of a surprise, because Xbox this generation has been, very much has a little bit of an edge there in a lot of games, and then sometimes it'll be at a disadvantage, 1 or 2 frames here or there, and then it'll be patched and it'll be fine. And that's kind of this running joke I have with people on like social media, is the fact that people kind of, like I said earlier, they really kind of overestimate or underestimate what the big deal is about this. It was never about having something to hold over Sony's head or Sony fanboys' heads. It was more so that these sites and these other people could stop doing that to Microsoft, and that's really kind of worked out well for them. There's also a curious difference between PS5 and Xbox Series X, where PlayStation version appears to be lacking reflections found in the Xbox version, and hopefully this is a bug that'll be fixed for launch, as both ought to be roughly equivalent in ray tracing capability. So we see that, remember earlier, everybody made it a big deal on Twitter, and they tagged me in all these posts during that Callisto Protocol situation where there was no reflections on the Xbox version, and they were like, oh, look how incapable the Xbox version, and then it got patched in a few days later and it was fine. So I'm sure that it'll be fine on PlayStation. It's just funny to me that this kind of stuff happens. Weirdly enabled the chromatic aberration setting makes the PS5 version look even lower resolution, where on Xbox Series X it affects clarity without the same effect to image quality. Even with CA disabled though, the PS5 version exhibits greater pixel crawl, a softer image, and more breakup. It's not clear why the PS5 version is in this kind of state, but again, its image quality treatment needs to be fixed for launch. So again, I kind of point out that it's kind of funny to me and a little bit odd, because again, we're seeing this type of thing where you know, Microsoft and Sony have similar consoles in terms of power and things like that, although obviously the Xbox is more powerful. You know, we continue to see Microsoft be able to push more and more. And again, I think that, so the reason why we haven't seen a bigger gap or bigger gulf is simply because, you know, developers are usually going to work on, like in this instance, I think probably the PS5 was the main console, the lead console in this. But anyway, frame rate prioritizes performance and therefore responsiveness with a cut to resolution. They measured around 1800p checkerboard on Series X, and well, actually it was 1728p to 1800p checkerboard on Xbox Series X, and as low as 1440p to 1800p checkerboard in PS5 in different scenes. It could suggest a dynamic resolution system, but as mentioned earlier, the heavy post-processing to the game makes it hard to get an exact count. Ultimately, the resilient images is what matters, and both consoles exhibit noticeably sub 4K image quality with a softer presentation and more breakup to vegetation in the PS5 in this mode. So again, PS5 loses some of the things there. Anyway, thankfully the performance and frame rate modes do have an effect on performance, unlike Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Resolution mode offers a sub 60 FPS experience suitable for users with VRR displays regardless of ray tracing or geometric hair strands being enabled or disabled. Frame rate mode conversely offers a locked 60 on PS5 and Series X, but enabling the ray tracing on hair strand option does make frame rate drops still possible. So it's up to you to decide whether the extra eye candy is worthwhile, but based on the demo, we'd suggest leaving both off. But there's still the possibilities that these will be more meaningful additions in the final game. Again, and you want to look at like the PlayStation 4 of the game, which is apparently a 900p internal resolution. So yeah, they're kind of talking about that or whatever. But as for their test complete, the current state of play for Resident Evil 4 based on the Chainsaw demo, PS5 exhibits several technical issues that distract from what is otherwise promising port. You know, again, so this is something that is really kind of a bummer for them. An only minor traversal stutter that's only noticeable at 120 FPS. So no platform is perfect, but then again, we've yet to test the final code, so we'll see how it goes. But again, are you guys at all surprised that you know, the PlayStation version is the worst version, right? I think that that's something that, you know, everybody maybe, I don't know, I think maybe the only reason why that there would be surprised is if you know, there's a situation where, you know, Sony is actually paying for these games to be marketed and they're worse on the platform, you know. So maybe they do need a PS5 Pro, I don't know, but we'll see what happens in the future with that. But I'm going to link this, the article, which also has the video that explains all this stuff, and you can check it out and let me know what you think. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, crap gamer 'em up. Thanks for watching. Crap gamer out.